is Berin, and today in this vlog what I want to talk about is assembling the clarinet. And so I'm going to just take us over here to the sample clarinet I have. This is a fairly typical student line clarinet, and what I want to start off here with is putting the reed onto the mouthpiece. Now, my sax video, I demonstrated how most people do it or whatever. I'm just going to go straight to the method I use. And yeah, when putting the clarinet together, especially for beginners, a lot of times what we want to do is we just want to start off with the barrel and the mouthpiece. I'm going to take the ligature and this cap off. Now, I don't like to put these together with the ligature on there because the ligature, especially these metal ones, can cause scratching and damage to the tip and rails. Something else though with these corks, if they're a little bit dry and if it's really hard to get on, you don't want to force it in place. So we want that to move on fairly easily, in which case then we want to get this cork grease out. And with this cork grease, you can take that cap off, and this does actually need some cork grease. So put a little bit of that on. I'm going to need this again, so I'm going to just put this out there for the moment. And then yeah, I'm going to put these two pieces together. Now the next thing is putting the ligature on, and I put the ligature on next. Now most people, again, just briefly, most people put the reed on first and then they put the ligature. Now the problem with that is some of us, like myself included, when I finally learned this trick to put the ligature on first, I saved myself a small fortune. But if we put the reed on first, it's really easy to do things like this, you know, where you're putting on, and then the next thing you know, you just take a little chunk out of the edge of that if you're not careful, and even if you are careful sometimes. So by putting, oh, and by the way, this is a stunt reed, it's not a performance reed, so no reeds in that way were harmed. So yeah, so what I do is put the ligature on first, and then I have to usually slide it up a little bit and put it underneath the heel end first. So I'm trying to avoid anything near the tip of this reed. And I slide this into place. And then when it comes to tightening the screws, and of course the screws, if it's a metal ligature, most of the time the screws will be on the bottom. So we got the reed on this side, so they're going to go on the bottom here. And then when I tighten the two screw ligature, I tighten it just enough to hold the reed in place here. And this one is tight enough so it just doesn't rattle. Because we want this reed to vibrate freely. So we don't want to be, you know, just really cinching this down super tight, because that's going to clamp down on the reed and keep the reed from vibrating. So yeah, I don't want to put a lot of extra pressure that's not needed. Yeah, and if I really want to, yeah, I can still move it, but that's okay. You can still move if we really put force onto it, but you know, for normal playing, it should stay in place fine. Now there are also the material ligatures, and I'll demonstrate one of those. I actually have to take the one off my clarinet. And yeah, so these material ligatures, when they go on, the screw usually goes on the top of the mouthpiece. And of course, the way you can always tell, the ligature screw is always on the right. So this one here, it's on the right hand side. And then we look at this one, it too is on the right hand side. So I'll go ahead and slip this reed back into place. And yeah, to put the reed on after the ligature is a little more awkward at first. It takes a little bit of practice. But once you get used to it, it's just as fast. And yeah, it saved me a small fortune on reeds because I was crunching these things all the time. So yeah, we want to look out for that. Now for putting the rest of the clarinet together, what I like to do is start with the lower section here, because in this case we have, again, a dry cork. And so I don't want to be forcing these joints together. So I'm going to put a little bit of cork grease on here to make sure it slides easily. And when you have a newer instrument, or maybe an instrument like this one that hasn't been played for a while, you might have to put this cork grease on every day, and that's not a problem. Now as far as putting, I'm going to next grab the bell, this lower part that looks kind of like a bell. I'm going to put these two parts together. And so what I'm going to do here, I'm kind of at an awkward angle, but you know, there's the part here where that's designed for our fingers to go. And we got these rods, and well, rods here, and got some keys. And so I don't want to be pushing on those while I'm putting this together. And so I like to put it in such a way so that I can have most of the force here where there's no moving parts, and then I'm grabbing up here, and then kind of sliding together. I might have to rotate a little bit. It doesn't, a lot of times it will not go straight on, so sometimes you have to kind of squeeze it on a little bit like that. And then that part's ready to go. And so now I'm going to grab the upper section. Now this one has 2 corks. That's how you can kind of tell the 2 sections apart when you're looking at it in the case. And so yeah, once again I'm going to put some cork grease on this one, a little bit more, and put some cork grease on this one. Now the lower part of this this top section is kind of the tricky part to put together. This is where a lot of accidents can happen when assembling the instrument. So again, like a lot of times if I'm sitting down, I might use my leg to rest this on there, so I'm not putting any extra pressure on these keys if I can help it. Now here we got, again, some moving keys. We got some keys here on the side, and I want to try to avoid putting pressure on those. So I'm kind of wrapping my fingers around that. And one of the important thing though is there's this key right here. Hopefully you can see that. That key there that moves. And what it's doing is it's lifting, see that little, I don't know what you call that thing, but anyway, you see how that's moving. Now this is part of what we call the bridge key, I guess. And it has to join up with this lower section, or that's on this lower section of the clarinet. It has to join up with that. What a lot of people do is they don't lift up that key, and then as they go putting it together, these keys can bash into each other and then a lot of times get bent. So we want to make sure, so again I'm pushing on this key here. It doesn't really matter what you use to push on it. I usually use my second finger, even though, or my third finger. And then as I slide them together, I'm watching, let's see, I'm getting a good angle on this. Not very, okay. Okay, so as I'm putting that together, I'm making sure that this upper part of the bridge key does not bash into the lower part. And once they're lined up, then I'm good to go. So, and so then hopefully we're ready to play with this now. And then, of course, a lot of times, especially if you're just starting off on clarinet, you're going to be using just like this part here, the mouthpiece and the barrel, and you're going to be doing practicing playing with just to get used to the sound. And I'll talk later about embouchure and also talk more about reeds in another vlog. But then yeah, when we're ready to go, we can push that in there. And again, I'm using my leg in this case, and if I'm sitting down, a lot of times I will use my leg to you know, keep from having to put too much force on any of the keys or rods. And then I put this on, and usually if we're going to be in tune, we're going to have a little bit of space. Oops, yeah, a little bit of space in there. And anyways, so now it should be good to go. And so I'll talk about here in another vlog about how to put the clarinet away. But anyway, there I am. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. My email is Berin, B-E-R-I-N. I know it's spelled a little bit different. Yeah, so it's B-E-R-I-N at saxmyax, saxmyax.com. And you can also visit my website, saxmyax.com, and feel free to ask me any questions. Thank you.